You probably already know this feeling. You walk through the door after a long day, drop your keys somewhere you'll forget later, and before you even take off your shoes, you're already talking to your pet. "Hey, I'm back. You wouldn't believe the day I had." And the funny part? They look right at you as if they do believe your day, as if they've been waiting the whole afternoon just to hear this exact story. Maybe you've caught yourself narrating your chores, or asking your cat why they're sitting in your spot again, or explaining to your dog why you can't share your food, even though you both know you probably will, and you don't think twice about it. It feels natural, almost too natural, like the conversation has been happening for years and you're just picking it up where you left off. But then there's that tiny moment, the one where you wonder, do other people do this? Is this normal? Why does it feel easier to talk to my pet than some humans? And if you've ever tried to explain this bond to someone who doesn't talk to their pets, you know the look. That half-confused, half-amused expression that almost says, "Wait, you talk to them like they can answer?" But I think you already know the truth. It's not about the answer. It's about the way your pet tilts their head when you speak. The way they blink slowly, shift their ears, wag a tail, or lean their whole body into your presence. The way they listen, not to your words, but to you. And somewhere inside, even if you can't explain it, it feels like someone finally understands you without needing anything from you. Here's something interesting psychologists have found. People who talk to their pets as if they're human consistently score higher in emotional intelligence and empathy. They're better at reading emotions, better at noticing subtle signals, and better at forming genuine bonds. Not because they're overly sentimental, but because they're naturally attuned to the emotional world around them. It actually makes sense. When you can sense what a creature with no words is feeling, you've developed a kind of intuitive perception most people struggle with. It means your emotional radar is sharp, your awareness is sensitive, and your ability to understand others runs deeper than average. That's why talking to pets comes so naturally. It's an extension of the empathy you already carry. So let's start there. With that simple, familiar moment you've lived 1,000 times, talking to your pet like they're a person. Because on some level they are someone to you. Someone you feel safe with. Someone who sees you in their own way. Someone who never makes you translate your feelings, and maybe you've never stopped to wonder why it feels so real, so comforting, so instinctive. That's what we're going to explore next. See, here's something most people overlook. Talking to your pet isn't random at all. There's a whole psychological pattern underneath it, and you've been doing it instinctively for years. First, let's talk about anthropomorphism. It sounds complicated, but it's actually one of the most universal human tendencies. Your mind naturally gives human qualities to the things you feel connected to, especially beings that feel steady, loyal, and emotionally consistent. It's the same instinct behind naming cars, talking to plants, or whispering to stuffed animals as a child. It's not childish, it's human nature reaching for connection wherever it feels genuine. And here's the thing. Humans are wired to project emotion onto beings that feel dependable. Here's why it works. Your pet doesn't interrupt, they don't argue, they don't twist your words or question your feelings. Their emotional tone never shifts unpredictably. Even more interesting, pets don't need language to communicate back. They rely on tone, posture, and micro-expressions, and your brain picks up on all of it, automatically. That's why your dog knows when your voice drops with exhaustion, why your cat comes closer when your breathing changes, why your bird chirps a certain way when your energy shifts. They're not decoding your sentences, they're reading your signals. It's psychology doing exactly what it was designed to do. Your mind recognizes that steadiness and places emotion there, because it feels secure. This ties directly into attachment theory, especially Bowlby's early work. Pets often become emotional anchors, not because you expect them to understand metaphor or sarcasm, but because they offer something incredibly rare: affection without conditions and attention without judgment. People say, they don't understand you. But what they miss is this. Communication isn't only about words, it's about presence, and your pet gives you a presence that feels steady, open, and emotionally magnetic. So, when you talk to them like a person, you're actually talking to the part of yourself that needs a moment of gentleness, a moment where you don't have to defend anything or pretend anything. Every time you speak to your pet, your brain is regulating itself. You're sorting your emotions, you're grounding your thoughts, you're verbalizing what you didn't even know you were carrying. When you speak to your pet, you're engaging in a form of emotional regulation. Putting feelings into words relieves mental tension. Your breathing slows as you talk. Your thoughts line up instead of spiraling. Your nervous system settles because you're finally expressing something you've been holding in, and even though your pet can't reply verbally, something very real is still happening. Animals process tone, rhythm, posture, and energy with stunning accuracy. They respond not to your sentence structure but to your emotional signature. That's why they move closer when your voice softens and pause when they sense something heavier in your tone. So when you talk to your pet like they're human, you're not being unrealistic. You're communicating in a way that both of you understand, just through different channels. Here's where the story gets deeper, and I think you'll recognize yourself in this part. People who talk to their pets often have something in common. They feel things intensely. Not in a dramatic way, more like a quiet radar for emotional detail. You notice shifts, pauses, changes in tone that others ignore. You feel the room before anyone even speaks. And honestly, that sensitivity is one of your strengths, whether you realize it or not. For many people, pets become the one place where that emotional depth finally fits. Especially if you've spent years being misunderstood or dismissed. If you've had to repeat yourself to be heard. If people talked over you, minimized you, or treated your feelings as an overreaction. After a while, you stop opening up in those spaces. You look for connection that doesn't ask you to shrink yourself. This often starts early, childhood patterns. Kids who weren't heard, who had to keep their emotions contained, or who were treated like their inner world was too much, grow into adults who gravitate toward nonverbal presence. Animals don't require explanations. They don't debate your feelings. And that kind of connection feels like a relief your younger self never got. Carl Jung explained this beautifully. He believed animals represent the parts of us that remain instinctive, untamed, honest, sincere, the parts most people bury to fit into the world. When you talk to your pet, you're interacting with a mirror. Not a mirror of your outer personality, but a mirror of the parts you forget. Softness, loyalty, innocence, intuition. When you speak to your pet, you're also speaking to the parts of yourself that you don't show to anyone. The softer parts, the tired parts, the parts you hide because the world doesn't always handle them gently. With your pet, those pieces finally have room to breathe. This is where emotional meaning comes in. Talking to your pet isn't just a habit, it's a form of inner dialogue, but in a way that feels less heavy because you're not alone with it. Their presence steadies your emotional world, like a silent anchor that holds you in place when your mind starts drifting. And even if they don't use words, they respond. Not to grammar or logic, but to your energy, to the rise and fall of your voice, to the way your shoulders drop when you finally say something honest. This is what psychologists call co-regulation, syncing your emotional rhythm with another being. And animals do it naturally. Somehow, they just know. And that's why pets become more than companions, they become emotional witnesses. Someone you can speak to without fear of ridicule or dismissal. Someone who listens without twisting your meaning. Someone who stays, not because you earned it, but because that's who they are. The bittersweet truth is that many people feel more understood by animals than by humans. And honestly, that says more about your depth than anything else. It means you connect in a way most people aren't capable of. It means your emotional world runs deeper, richer, more sincere. You've probably felt that moment when your pet moves closer without being called, or rests their head on you when you're trying not to cry, or stares at you with that strange, tuned-in intensity, like they're reading you more accurately than anyone else ever has. It's not imagination. It's emotional attunement. And here's something most people don't realize. People who talk to their pets tend to be more emotionally aware than most. They don't just feel emotions, they understand them. They pick up subtleties. They notice the human world in a way others rush past. That's not weakness, that's depth. There's also a memory layer to all this, an attachment to the version of you that still believes in loyalty, sincerity, and affection without conditions. Talking to your pet connects you to that inner version of yourself, the one who didn't have to pretend or earn anything. It's a reminder that there's still a part of you that feels life honestly, without filters. And maybe that's why this bond feels so strong. It's not just between you and your pet. It's between you and the part of yourself you sometimes forget about. So, here's the truth you probably already felt somewhere deep down. People who talk to their pets aren't strange, naive, or childish. They're something entirely different, something rarer. They're the people who feel life in a way others can't. The ones who notice subtleties. The ones who actually see emotion instead of rushing past it. The ones who understand connection beyond words. And maybe you don't give yourself enough credit for that, because talking to your pet isn't just a cute habit. It's a sign that your heart stayed open in a world that constantly tries to harden people. It means you haven't lost the ability to form bonds that are sincere, steady, and honest. Most people struggle with that. You don't. You connect deeply, instinctively, naturally, and that's not something everyone can do. It's something people spend years trying to relearn. So if you're someone who talks to your pet like they're human, that says something good about you. It means you're intuitive enough to understand connection without needing constant explanation. It means you're emotionally intelligent in a way that doesn't need proving. It means you're still capable of tenderness in a world that often forgets how to offer it. You're not out of place for feeling this bond. You're ahead of the curve, aware, perceptive, and able to create closeness where others don't even notice the opportunity. And honestly, that's something to be proud of. Because at the end of the day, talking to your pet isn't just about them. It's also a reflection of who you are. A person who still feels deeply, who still cares genuinely, and who still believes, even quietly, in a kind of connection that doesn't need words to be real. And that's a rare kind of strength.